Urban Explorer of Reddit, what was your I better GTFO story?
Spooky cement tunnel that seems to lead underground. Very dark and echoes go on for ages. We had no clue what it was, didn't seem to be any kind of drainage tunnel because it was square, bone dry and out in an open field. There are definitely some old bomb shelters and missile silos on our area that are out of commission, so we decided to take a look. Only about 20 yards in and the light from outside starts really fading behind us. Someone takes out a flashlight and we start seeing bare human footprints on the ground leading deeper into the dark. None leaving. We skedaddled.
I was taking a look at some of those massive smokestacks in an abandoned factory and I heard a radio squelch "That's time to go," right there.
I was exploring an old storm water filtration plant once. The lower levels of the main buildings were all flooded, which was super creepy, and it was pretty overgrown. This was my second time there and I wanted to see more than I had last time. A friend of mine and I had the bright idea to climb into one of the pipes that had an open manhole cover, really stupid for a whole bunch of reasons. We figured we knew, had a pretty good guess where it would come out as there was another manhole on the other side of the compound in line with where the pipe was heading. When we got all the way there though, it turned out to be welded shut. The worst bit was when we turned to go back we realized we'd been slowly going downhill. The pipe was fairly slimy and it seemed for a minute like we wouldn't be able to go back the way we'd come. I've never quite felt that level of claustrophobia before or since. Edit, as others are rightly saying never do this. I realized shortly after how dangerous it was. Thanks for the safety tips and up points friend's smiley face.
In a building I found the basement. Then the sub-basement. It was dark. Heard a sound. Then an animal running sound, and dogs barking. I booked it back up the stairs and closed the fire door and GTFO. Speaking to some urbex mentors, they explained if you hear dogs or see them, to not go in the area as it's probably used for a drug lab.
I was exploring the abandoned hospital at night when I see a light shining down the corridor just on my left. When I saw that I started to run back when I hear the loudest, most distorted laughter ever. Then I heard a man screaming, then the sound of something breaking. I learned a few days later that it was my friend who knew I was going to be there alone and he wanted to scare me. The screaming man was actually coming from the YT video on the SCP Bone Breaker. Edit, the address for the hospital is 28 bis Rue de la Solitude, 72,000 Le Mans.
Oh, I've had my share of things that made me nope out. Here's just a few. And #X200B, found a gas leak in an abandoned house that had been building up for years a couple weeks ago. I GTFO, but not before finishing taking the photos I wanted with extreme caution. That one I reported to the cops, as it's classified as the kind of hazard in the urbex community that supersedes discretion. And #X200B, ran into the security guard doing an unexpected interior patrol. He definitely knew we were there, so we had to book it for the tree line before he could get the cops out there to search. And #X200B, some homeless dude chucking cans and bottles out the 5th-story window of an old factory my friend and I were poking around to scare us off. We took a hint and left. And #X200B, tripped a motion detecting camera in the basement of an abandoned building and had to bail. I know for a fact they got a full-face photo of me staring directly into the camera with shock, but I never heard anything more about it.
I spent a lot of years super into urban exploration hoping something would make me nope out. It happened a lot and it was always the same thing. The cops.
Little bit late here, but I once went exploring with my brother on an old abandoned naval base at midnight. We snuck into the officers' quarters and were just exploring when we heard a weird noise. We're both into photography, so I decided to take a flash photo and see if I caught anything weird in the light. The camera went off and we both saw a massive, 6-feet-long bee's nest on the side of one of the walls. I think our presence has just disturbed them, because hundreds of them were already crawling in the outside of the nest. It was the single most scariest thing I've ever seen, and it was gone in a second because of the camera flash. We noped the beep out of there right as a cop was pulling up to see what we were up to. Lol. Edit, just dug through my old laptop for a couple hours to try and find the pictures. They're not very clear, but I think this is a portion of the nest.
Was exploring an abandoned TB hospital. Heard a sound that sounded a lot like a homeless person snoring. It took a while for my friends and I to work up the courage to go in the room where we heard it, but we were rewarded with the sight of a vulture's nest.
Came upon an active shooting gallery in a tunnel one time. I noped TF out of there in a hurry.
Less urban but sharing anyway. I was camping in BC with my GF at the time and her dog, had a couple of rough-looking people who were the only other people in the area we were camping, but it was late so we set up and thought nothing of it. Guy wanders over while we're in our tent, can hear him outside and dog is barking at this point. I get out and ask what he's doing and he says he just wanted to pet the dog. This is at like midnight, told him we were settling in etc. Guy wanders off without replying at all to what I'd said. Woke up the next morning to what looked to me like a single 9mm bullet sitting upright on our site's picnic table, and a happy face made with sticks and rocks on the bench part of the table below it. Maybe it was just a beep joke, but we sure as beep didn't stay around to find out.
I was exploring when I noticed some dude trailing me. I was saved by a bus driver, who noticed me and opened the door as he passed by me.
Sort of urban exploring I guess. When I was at Chicago they were renovating some of the Green Line stations and a friend and I would jump the turnstiles at the station across from our building at night to get high and watch the trains. Day 2 of the station being closed and one of the conductors saw us and actually stopped, so we got on with only one other person in the car, thinking it'd be fun to just ride it until it came back. It's pretty late, and after a few minutes we realized the homeless looking guy sitting at the other end of the car isn't actually masturbating, he's cleaning a gun. Got off only to realize it was an Ashland 63rd bound train and had no idea where TF we were. To this day neither of us remember how we made it home. Only now writing this do I realize we had no way of getting back since they wouldn't have stopped at our station again.
I was 16 or 17, so like 2006-ish, out in a park out in a western suburb of Chicago with some friends. It's a medium-sized forest preserve with a big industrial lot leading to the parking lot, then a prairie area, then a big old forest with paths. We're walking around the forest for a few hours in the early afternoon and see some random pentagrams around and stuff, honestly nothing super out of the ordinary, but they seem concentrated by this field that's probably like 2,000 square feet of 4 feet tall grass. For whatever reason I thought it would be fun to walk into the middle of the grass field. Right in the dead center, there is like a 8 feet long, 3 feet wide rectangle of freshly dug ground. Like perfect for a body. Because of how tall the grass was, it was almost totally covered, but when I moved the grass back it was like a burial mound. I told my friend we had to leave and so we beelined back to the parking lot. My friend didn't smoke in his car so we had a cig next to the car. Cop pulls up, and we're underage so we flick our cigarettes and start to get in the car. Cop turns on his lights and stops us. Once he sees we're kids, he says something like, "Better get out of here, it's not a good place to be after dark."
No really scary ones other than random bums yelling and stuff. But there were a couple of good encounters. One, messing around in the outskirts of a train yard taking pics of old train cars and stuff. Ran into I guess a mechanic or maintenance worker or something who ended up being super cool and started up and pulled a locomotive out of the shed for us. 2. In an old abandoned mining site somewhere I came around the side of a big machine thing and ran into a homeless dude living in a tent. He also turned out to be cool. We gave him some of our food and sat around for a while talking.
Edit. Well, since someone asked, here's the video. Immediately after is when he blared the horn, etc. Boy oh boy do I have a story. Went urban exploring in an abandoned college campus, was pretty cool, due to be demolished, and there was some really nice graffiti. At the time I kept sending video messages to a friend of me roaming around looking at everything. The way the area was set up was pretty much a singular building in this giant lot with nothing on it, right in the middle with it being open area about 100 meters either way. The building was 3 stories, and on the ground floor had an open area where there appeared to be an abandoned car. So I was messing around looking at this graffiti and the random junk everywhere and recording videos for my friend when I finally went to record the graffiti right next to the car. I started filming a video of the graffiti when what do you know? The car turns on. I immediately throw my hands up and point towards the gate to gesture sorry, didn't realize someone was here, I'll be on my way. When the guy starts blaring on the horn and starts revving the engine, at this point I'm startled and decide to gun it down the driveway back to the gate, and what do you know, he starts speeding after me in the car while still blaring on the horn.
Due to being startled and running, I apparently accidentally hit send to the video I took on my phone to my friend, whilst all captioning at 1111 as I was running away. I have the video saved if anyone's curious. At this point I was right in the headlights with him right behind, so I turned off the driveway and ran over a pile of rocks, falling down on my way down the other side of them. Scratched my knee really badly, glasses went flying off and got scratched up too. I get the glasses and sprint, more like hobble quickly, to the fence where there's some bush covering. The guy pulls up nearby and winds down the window, and you could smell the car from how far I was. It was putrid and the guy for sure looked like he was living out of the car. I have insane adrenaline going and sort of slink further away through the bushes but can't get over the fence. I figured I could wait the guy out. I was there for around 20 minutes whilst he sat there with his car idling. By this point my friend was practically having a panic attack, thinking I just got murdered, and my adrenaline was wearing off and the pain from my leg was setting in, so I couldn't climb the fence and get away quickly without him noticing. My friend was messaging me like crazy asking if I was okay, and she ended up driving to the place to rescue me. She pulled up a bit up the street and the guy drove up towards there, which gave me the chance to climb the fence. She rushed down to where I had said I was, picked me up, and we drove off. Never have I been so scared in my life, and have never appreciated someone more.
I was exploring an abandoned mineshaft for the second day in a row. This time I brought more friends and better flashlights. The door I had gone through the first day was now padlocked shut. That should have been the first red flag, but we found an entrance from the rooftop into one of the main buildings and continued to explore anyway. After exploring about 3 floors of mineshaft below ground, we were back on the main floor exploring the workshop garage, and I was looking through the cracks of light coming through the rusted metal walls, when I noticed a bright color that stood out from the rest of the area. It was a man looking back at me through the cracks. I was seeing his blue sweater. I could see 2 sets of eyes looking into the room that we were in. After whispering to my friends that there were people watching us through the wall, we booked it out of there and jumped off the roof and into the woods. The men were in a pickup truck and drove around looking for us, even getting out of the truck to look around. We couldn't see them from where we took cover, but we could hear the truck stop, the doors open, and footsteps breaking leaves and twigs only approximately 20 feet away from us. We hid there for about 15, holding out breath while the men searched all around for us. I'm not going back there.
Came across a large structure with high windows. It was essentially one rather large room, 2 external doors, cathedral height ceiling, and windows high on the walls. Interior was painted a rather drab yellowish green, and paint was peeling everywhere. Floor was a sort of cement, cracked here and there. I think there may have been a drain somewhere on the floor. Lots of dirt and leaves. Then all of a sudden, the loudest, shrillest scream emanated from right smack middle of the room. We both covered our ears by reflex. It lasted like 2 seconds. We had been on opposite sides of the room examining the walls and chipping paint. We both freaked out, and exited, each at the door nearest to where we had been. Circled around and met on one side. We each heard the scream come from the middle of the empty room, but nobody else was there. Also nobody else outside anywhere we could see, and certainly nowhere near enough for it to have seemed to be from inside. Never experienced anything else like that. Update, lots of valid suggestions here. It's not a woman stuck in the drain. The drain was like a 3-inch pipe in the ground. Let me be clear, I do not believe in ghosts or any such thing, since I've never seen valid evidence of such. Nevertheless, it was nasty business. Also, there were no birds up top, at least not inside the room. There weren't any visible rafters or anything, but the ceiling could have had a plenum space, I suppose. No idea. It was very open and empty.
I did lots in the UK a few years back. Denby Asylum in general just made me nope the beep out. That place was scary.
I was exploring an old office house of a slaughterhouse. While I was in there, I heard voices and someone have a dog that was barking and running around. I jumped out of the window and ran away because the building was all abandoned.
Man, as I read all these stories I feel my pulse going up and my palms getting sweaty.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more quality content every day.